In this episode of Built with Tech, I had the chance to speak with David Fiore, the founder of Fiore Communications out of Tallahassee, Florida. With over 2 decades of experience, David has mastered the art of storytelling and evolved his business to meet the changing demands of marketing and communications. During our conversation, David shared how he transformed his passion for writing and PR into a thriving agency, covering everything from digital marketing and large-scale publications. He's also the host of the How I Got Here podcast, where he tells inspiring stories of local leaders. Now, let's jump into the recording and the podcast where David shares valuable insights in growing a business, adapting to change, and leveraging technology. Here's the episode.
This is the Build with Tech podcast, where we dive into the minds of business leaders, building tech-enabled businesses to launch and scale profitable enterprises. With your host, Ray Ortega.
Hey, welcome to the Build with Tech podcast. I'm here with my guest, David Fiore. David Fiore, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Ray. Happy to be here.
So to get us started, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business.
Okay. Yeah. So I am Dave Fiore, lived in Tallahassee, Florida. My whole adult life came here to go to college and stayed. Love it here. This is a great place to live and do business and raise a family. So started Fiore Communications 23 years ago.
Wow.
And have been in the marketing business. It's had some evolution and changes over that time, but we are a full service marketing firm, do everything from, websites, social, digital, also traditional media, TV, radio. And I also had a big publications background. So we also work with large state associations and do traditional print and online publications to help them with member communication and also event promotion, big conferences and conventions and stuff like that.
Nice. And you host your own podcast. Is that correct?
I do. Yeah. I started a podcast called How I Got Here about 5 years ago, almost exactly 5 years ago, talking to people in Tallahassee wherein they can share their stories of how they got to where they are today. And hopefully it's inspiring and encouraging others who see people who have accomplished some cool stuff. And when they learn some of the challenges they've overcome or opportunities they've taken advantage of, that it'll encourage them. And so far, it's been an amazing journey. And I've just loved being able to talk to so many cool people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted to touch on the podcast later on. But first, I want people to know that you were actually a writer. Is that right?
Yeah. So my degree at FSU is in PR. And, that's a lot of writing involved. But my first jobs are really around publication management and writing and editing. So that's really my skill set that I bring. A lot of agency owners come from backgrounds of public affairs or advocacy or graphic design or, different areas. Mine's writing and we didn't call it content development back then. We called it writing, but it's content development. It's telling stories for clients and, coming up with good ways to communicate sometimes complicated issues in simple ways that people can understand.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that. The reason why is because, we have people that are, have specific skill sets in creatives, writing being one of them. And if they want to own a business one day, hey, here you are, a guy who owns a business, who was a writer at one point, and then you said PR as well. Could you give us a little bit of history, how you got to the business that you got to today?
Yeah, so as I talked about, I graduated with a degree in PR from Florida State, and I was getting married at the time, and my wife Robin was not quite done with school yet. So we decided, it's one of those cases where I picked a location over a career. So we decided I wanted her to, obviously we were going to stay together. I wanted to stay in Tallahassee so she could finish. So I chose Tallahassee before I decided exactly what I wanted to do. So I got a job at the Florida Department of Education working on publications and helping a variety of things, but that was one of the main things. That led to a job at our newspaper here, the Tallahassee Democrat, where I worked on the marketing side and did special publications, writing, editing, developed those skills even more. To our city magazine, Tallahassee Magazine, which was a great opportunity, city lifestyle magazine. And I was the editor there I was 26 years old. And honestly, don't tell them, but I had no idea what I was doing. So that was a great opportunity to grow my skills, be part of a great organization and group of people. Brian Rowland gave me my start there along with Jerry Lundquist, who owned it at the time, and just a great chance to develop those skills. And from then I kind of done what I was going to do there. So I had a chance to work in PR after that, joined a firm here, RB Oppenheim and Associates. Rick Oppenheim gave me a chance to join his firm, and I did PR there for about 6 years. And then after that, about the year 2000 or so, I decided that, hey, I wanted to try this something and do it on my own. And it was a little bit different what I actually ended up doing, but that was the time in my life where I decided wanted to branch off, be an entrepreneur, start something. At the time, it was with a partner.
Yeah.
That lasted about a year and a half. And then from then I went off on my own. And for the last 20 years, I've been doing it by myself. Well, I shouldn't say that. I started it by myself. I now have a wonderful team of people who do an immense amount of work to get our clients' work done. But at the time, yeah, I just said, hey, it's time to go off and see what I can do for myself.
That's awesome. What would you attribute that decision to go on your own? Like what kind of triggered that for you?
I think it was a couple of things. One is that I had worked in a couple of different related industries in publishing, writing, the editing. I also did freelance writing and editing that whole early part of my career. So I was still developing those skills, and then I had a chance to develop some PR skills as well. And, it wasn't just straight PR, it was integrated marketing. So it was advertising, marketing, public relations, all those skills kind of put together. And I just kind of had a chance to do all those. And I kind of decided also we were starting to have children, and we had made the decision we were going to homeschool our children. And my wife did a wonderful job of that for 25 years. And we have 6 kids altogether, so big family. And I really wanted the opportunity to have the flexibility with scheduling and money and being able to make those decisions. So we took a risk and to see how it would go if I kind of went off on my own.
I laugh at that because you said flexibility, but you have 6 kids. And I'm like, what kind of flexibility is that?
Well, flexibility to work from where I wanted to and when I needed to. But as far as having my own interests and stuff,
that's funny.
It was a different time. Yeah.
So considering that, and I come from a similar, well, not very similar. I don't have 6 kids. I have 2, but I come from a very similar background when I wanted more time with my family. Tell me, what were kind of the challenges in that? You wanted to be with, have more time with your family, have more time, to be able to do things you want to do. Like how was that challenge? How'd you overcome that challenge when you started?
Well, it's really interesting because the first 7 years of working from home there were a couple different locations, but it was mainly our dining room. So, it's not like the kids went off to school. We had we didn't have all 6 at that time.
Okay.
But they were, probably 3 for most of that time and then 4. And, we had to figure out how all that worked. So it's an interesting dynamic because I wanted to be home and provide that flexibility and do those things I wanted to do. But being home and trying to work also means saying no a lot. So, I couldn't really be there all the time in the sense of I couldn't just stop and play with the kids and do that as much as I would have wanted to. So there was a real balance there of supporting, my wife especially with the little kids and being part of that lifestyle that we wanted and being home and around. But the hardest thing is always, to me, it's when you're working from home, it's very hard to have definition in your life on work and home and when does one thing stop and the other one start. If you're not careful, it all just blends together into one never ending or never stopping 24-hour cycle. And so that was a challenge, to be honest, of how to balance that and be a dad when I needed to be a dad and earn money and work hard when I needed to do that too.
Absolutely. I definitely feel you on that one. I actually I took a walk-in closet and I converted it to an office, and I think I used it for about maybe like a year. And then I said, no, I need to get an office somewhere else. It was just too distracting for me to stay home and get work done.
And it's funny too, because now after COVID, everybody works from home. I've got employees who work from home. Yeah. But back then, like I did everything in my power to not make it look like I was working from home. It was kind of a sign of a weakness, or you weren't serious, or you weren't big enough, that we tried to project more. And now, it's cool and accepted. And I'm glad that we've kind of evolved in that. But back then, I didn't try to hide it. I didn't lie to anybody, but working from my dining room was not exactly the biggest sign of success to a potential client at the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Would you say that, your honest opinion, would you say that work from home versus working at the office, are you seeing a difference in productivity, or are you seeing more creativity because people are getting to work from home around their more creative environments? What do you think about that?
Yeah. So I'm pretty still traditional about, in a marketing environment or communications environment, I think there's a real benefit to collaboration in person with people, sharing ideas in face-to-face situations. I think that is the best situation. That's what I prefer. I prefer that our employees be here as much as they can for those things. But I also know that we live in a different world now where I greatly value the work-life balance, and moms who have young children and people who have other responsibilities that make it very difficult for that traditional 8 to 5 be in the office all the time. And I value the people more than the tradition. So as long as we can have times where we collaborate, Zoom is great. It allows us to communicate in ways that we couldn't before, and I'm grateful for that. So to answer your question, my preference would be for us to be here in person, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to keep people that I greatly value and allow them to work in a way and circumstances that best suits them. I'd rather have them that way than lose them. So I think using it, I would not want a completely remote office. That would not be my preference, but a hybrid situation allowing people to do what works best for them, I'm totally in favor of that.
And one of the reasons why I asked that question is because most people watching or listening, when you're starting a business, you may be the creative person who may have gotten the business started, but at some point you're going to have to hire employees. And these are questions that you're going to have to run into. You're going to run into these types of things. What would you consider some other challenges you may have had between the employer-employee relationship, besides the whole work from home? Because I'm sure the work from home was a challenge, and so what other challenges did you find yourself in when you were hiring people and bringing people onto your business?
Yeah, to that point, as far as working remotely, if you're willing to work remotely, you open up your potential employee base exponentially because it's not geographically based. So that can help you. But as far as other challenges, I think, or I would say the biggest mistake I've made in the past, and I've really been blessed to have really good team members over time. I've never had a huge mistake or somebody that was just a terrible fit. But I have fallen in love with resumes more than I should have. I think that you hire people and not skills. I just love the humble, hungry, smart model. If you get people who are hungry to learn more, humble and always wanting to learn, and are smart and can do what you need them to do, you can accomplish almost anything. And if they're smart, they can learn what you do and how you do it. And so they don't have to have the perfect skills. I'd rather teach somebody, train them, show them what we need, and get them to where they need to be as far as delivering actual products and services, but have the right people, the right personalities, the right temperament, the right goals. They believe in our vision. They believe in what we're trying to do. And that's what I want. I just want everybody, pulling the same direction and trying to accomplish the same goals. Because if they really believe in who we are and what we're doing, we can accomplish anything. It's getting that person that you have in that gut feeling that I'm not sure if it's the right fit.
Yeah.
But man, look at all the experience they have. That will get you in trouble every time.
What would you consider? Because it's a very intriguing answer because on paper, it's hard to see like where they would be a good fit. You could see obviously their skill sets, things like that. Where do you make that determination that this person could be a possible good fit, even if they're in a distance? Let's say they're applying from Texas. How would you know that from where you're sitting?
Right. So first impressions, first interviews can be misleading in my experience. So somebody's on their best behavior. I don't mean they're trying to be deceitful in any way, but just everything goes well. They know the questions you're going to ask. Probably they have good answers. They're buttoned up. They're giving their best. So having those be patient as the employer or as the hirer, and have that third interview in a more casual setting, even if it's on Zoom, just like, hey, let's just hang out on Zoom for a few minutes. Let's talk. Let's bring up sports or books or whatever you enjoy, and let's just talk and, see how they relate to you and how your personalities mesh and how you think they would fit in with the team. Or if it's just you, because you have to like the people you work with. You don't have to be best friends, but you have to like and want them to be successful. And that's, that personality is a big part of it. And it is hard to tell on a first or even a second interview. So anything you can do to extend that process a little bit, to spend some time with them and try to just ask them some simple questions to get their views on how they approach things. You don't have to align philosophically or politically or religiously or any of those things, but you just have to have a common goal of wanting to accomplish the same thing in whatever industry you're in. And usually that'll work out fine.
It's funny you say that, because I almost use that same process in the sales process. So when I'm actually trying to work with a client, I'll go through those same processes, because like you said, you want to work with people that you can work with. You want to be able to have a relationship with. It's not just transactional. How do you find in your business, is that similar how you operate with your clients?
I would like to say that I'm a good prognosticator about that, but I'm not always. Sometimes, yes, I absolutely agree that the client, the agency or firm client relationship is super important too. In the same way that, in marketing is kind of an interesting industry, because everybody to some degree thinks they can do marketing.
Yes.
I can do social media. I can make a video. I can write a blog. I can write web copy or whatever. And they can, to some degree. And I would argue that they may not do it as well as we do, but yes, you can physically do some of those things. Now, whether you can do it well or whether you'll do it at all after the first week or two, those are the issues. But it gets very tiresome to have to convince your client of the value you bring on a regular basis. So that would be my thing. If your client does not value what you do and what you bring and trust you, then that's not a client you need to keep.
ChatGPT has kind of done that for everybody.
Yeah. ChatGPT is, I know you may ask me about technology, but that has been one that is I always joked with, people in different industries. I'm like, you guys do all these different things, but we do the one thing no one can ever take away, and that's create content. Little did I know that we'd be competing with robots, at some point.
And guess what? I said the same thing probably 10 years ago. There's no way we would ever be slow business-wise being an IT consulting company, because what we do is very unique in writing code, building software. And now there's this false sense that ChatGPT could build all the software in the world, and you don't need developers anymore. So we're getting hit with that as well.
Yeah. And I would just say to anybody in any of those fields, okay, just give it a shot and see how that works.
Exactly.
Because they are it is smart. It is learning one day maybe, but we are not anywhere near there yet.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah. We've seen like Sora, which is the AI video thing that everyone keeps touting out there, that's going to be creating all the video editors and video creators out there. And if you've watched a 30-second video, there's so much mess ups in the like, there's a third hand, there's an extra leg, there's something that blows up in the background that shouldn't. You know what I mean? It's like, there's so many different things.
Close.
We're this far away.
Just right there. Yeah.
So moving on to technology, let's talk a little bit about technology. So, you've built your business, you have employees. What kind of technologies are you incorporating in order to help you optimize your flow and how you do things?
Yeah, even before we started having more remote workers, we've used cloud-based software for everything we do. So we use, can I mention product names here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Or just, okay. So we use Basecamp as a project manager, and that's where we live. That's where all our projects, assignments, everything, all the main stuff that we do. We use Tick to measure our time. So, and I'll just run down a few of these. We use Dropbox, of course, not of course, but we use Dropbox for our files, file management. We use a product called Dash This to manage dashboards for our clients. So when we're gathering information, data on websites, social, emails, whatever, podcast results, whatever we're doing for our clients, it's just a great tool to put it all in a digital dashboard and makes it pretty and has month over month, year after year results that are charted and makes that really cool. So different things like that. Of course, we use Zoom. We use competitor research tools to help us with keywords and digital ads, stuff like that. So nothing really lives on local computers. Everything's in the cloud, in these programs, or in Dropbox, so that we can work from anywhere. And the purposes are for redundancy, for safety, for backup, and also access from wherever we are.
Yeah, we use pretty much the same type of tools, and we're the same way. We don't have a single server or anything here. Everything's in the cloud.
Right.
We don't house anything locally. And I think, to be honest, that's probably one of the most secure ways to run a business today, where everything's in the cloud using cloud security, and then you don't have to worry about anything like people hacking into your local network and trying to access things that just don't exist in your office.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good way of doing things. In fact, that's what I tout a lot when I talk to companies about. Always try to put as much as you can on the cloud using the secure cloud platforms. Like I've met some companies that are cloud providers that when you look at the underlying architecture, they're kind of trying to compete against these larger companies, and they're not even close. They have so many vulnerabilities, and they're not there yet. So I always recommend using like Amazon Web Services, Azure, Google Cloud, any one of those. Are you in any one of those three, or you're all three?
No, we as far as for what platforms?
Well, you said you said cloud, but you're saying you're using third party software. That's okay. So that's what you mean by cloud, using the third party software that has their own cloud.
Right. Yeah. We don't use a direct cloud service to locate. We're just using the third party software platforms, I guess.
That makes sense. If you probably look at the background of those three of the platforms that you use, they probably use any one of those three. So yeah. Awesome. And so when you first started using technology in your business, do you consider yourself a technical person, or did you kind of have to learn as you went?
Learned as we went along. I mean, I love tech. I love gadgets. I'm an Apple early adopter as much as I can afford to be. I love all that stuff. But no, I wasn't a techie in the sense of an IT background or any of that. We learned, it was kind of out of necessity. Like, what are the tools we're being, in some areas, especially like project management, it's very hard to be efficient if you don't have a place where everything can live and everybody can work from a hub where everybody understands what's going on, when it's assigned, where the resources are. So I went through several in the early years before I ended up where we are now. And some of them were good, and there's some great other tools, but we just decided to kind of lock in on the ones that worked best for us.
Yeah. If you could pick one tool that you use that is the most effective for your business right now, which one would you pick?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably Basecamp, just because that, as an agency, we have lots of clients with lots of projects and lots of people. So it's the thing that integrates all those things in one place for us. And I know there are similar programs, but it has worked very, very well for us.
So what's awesome is Basecamp came out of the UCF incubator, so University of Central Florida incubator.
I didn't know that.
When I was at UCF getting my business degree, Basecamp went through the incubator, and I was there not at Basecamp, but I was at UCF when Basecamp used to get hit so hard they didn't have the infrastructure to handle the amount of clients. So if you can imagine where it is today, like.
Yeah, they've come a long way.
They've come a long way, and it's an amazing platform. And for those who don't know, Basecamp is basically project management. It's project management software. And is that how you guys use it? Project management primarily?
Yes. Yeah. Project management.
Yeah. And it's been around since, I think they started around 2010, 2011. And they were still in the infancy stage around 2012 and then kind of grew from there.
Yeah. And we've been using it. We're on, I think 3, but I think it's Basecamp 3 now.
Okay.
Or 4, maybe 4, but we've been in from the beginning. Well, not the very beginning, but we've started with 1 and worked our way up, and they made some nice tweaks in internal communications. They call them pings.
Yep.
so we can have its own messaging, and which isn't unique to them, but it allows everything to stay one place. If we try to manage projects through email, it gets very cumbersome. Things get lost. It's impossible. So you need anybody who's starting an agency, if it's more than just you, I would highly recommend getting some kind of program or platform that allows you to manage projects in one place.
Absolutely. And there's so many out there. Like we use a combination of stuff. We use Jira, we use Trello,
Trello. I've used Trello.
We're huge at Atlassian. We have like a special deal with Atlassian. We have like all of their products, but we're a software engineering company. So it kind of bodes well for us because it's a ticketing based system rather than just project management and assigning tasks. It's got a lot of other features in there. So for community,
and we don't need that stuff, but I understand how that would be valuable for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you consider? So for communication, are you using Basecamp for communication as well?
For communication with clients?
Well, like communication internally.
Internally, yeah. So we do, that's something you have to kind of train people to use, because so that's your go-to over, yelling down the hallway or, or emailing. But yes, we use Basecamp as our primary internal communications.
Have you ever used Slack before, or is that something you're not into?
No, we've never used Slack because we just haven't needed to, really, because of the Facebook, the Basecamp platform. But I know when Slack was, and I love podcasts and I've listened to, but I can't remember the company and I should, but Slack was not the primary. It was a software development company that used Slack for internal communication, and then that became the product.
Absolutely.
Right? What was the company?
Gosh,
do you remember?
I can't remember, but you're right.
I know.
You're right.
But
it was the...
it was like an accidental discovery, and then that became what they were known for, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a true story. I can vouch for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Slack was an internal tool at first, and then they were like, this would be pretty good to license out to other people.
I wonder if other people would want to use this.
So let's go back to your company a little bit.
Yep.
So as far as what would you consider is the best success that you've had in your company since you started?
The best success.
The one project or the one whatever it is that put you on the map. Is there anything that you can remember that put you on the map, or kind of like you kind of just grew organically?
Yeah, well, we grew. So what we did was I started mainly with the writing and editing and PR, the stuff that I knew when we started. And I would get some clients, and I'll come back to a main one in a second. But it was that when I would work with clients and they would say, hey, as things would change, and they would say, hey, can you do this? Or do you know how to do this? And then I was like, sure I do. And then I'd have to go and figure out, what in the world they were talking about. So adding services as clients asked for them was really important for us. But the thing that there were a couple of businesses that showed a lot of faith in us at the beginning, but really it was Tallahassee is the capital of Florida in the national terms, kind of a small town, 250, 300,000 people in the county. I think it's somewhere around there. But it's got a very small town vibe. People know each other. They care about each other. A lot of people grew up here. So, with the college town with Florida State, Florida A&M, we have a Tallahassee State College here too. And so it's a very close-knit community. So relationships matter. Who how you treat people, it matters here. I guess you could say it matters everywhere, but I don't know that it matters as much in Chicago or New York as it does in a town like this.
Yeah.
So I was blessed to have some really great relationships with friends. When I was at Tallahassee Magazine and I was editor, there was a writer there named Julie Bettinger, who was a friend, and she had a client. She was a freelance writer, editor too. There was kind of a little community of us. And she worked for the Florida Sheriff's Association, and she did their content development. And the Florida Sheriff's Association is unique. It's the largest of its kind in the country, over 100,000 members. It is truly a model for associations like that in the country. And she did a lot of work on their web content and publications. So she brought me in to help her. And then when she moved on to do other things, she recommended me, and the people there gave me the opportunity to kind of slide into her position. And this was, 15 years ago or so, to take over those roles. And since then, we have been able to do just the same website content publications, but we also do their podcasts now, production, and we do a lot of other related services for them that have allowed us, our business to grow. Not only is it great to work for them, but they're very well known and great, and being associated with them has been a great thing for the company. So very grateful. Everybody's got one of those people early on, or those situations that kind of really led them to more and more.
Yeah.
And law enforcement has turned out to be a great vertical for us. We work with other associated law enforcement groups that are just so great to work with. And it's all because of this one relationship I had, and somebody who thought I could do the job and wanted to introduce us and take it from there. So always be grateful for that relationship and everything that it's led to.
When I was looking over at your website and I saw some of your podcasts and your posts, I noticed you're very community driven. Like everything you guys do is very community driven. Could you speak a little bit about that? Because the kind of that success story is based on your community outreach, right?
Right. Yeah. So like I said, Tallahassee's it is not a small town from a business or technology. We've got world leading technology, research, incubators. I mean, this is a high tech progressive town business wise in technology, but it's also a small town relationship wise. So being involved in the community, and I care about it here. I've lived here my entire adult life, raised our kids here. I have family here, extended family, great friend network. It's just a great place to live and work. And so I enjoy the opportunity to give back, be part of it, volunteer. I belong to, Rotary Club and business organizations, and I'm active in the chamber. Just any opportunity I can to learn from other people here, give back, make friends, collaborate. It's interesting, even in our business, and I see this in all kinds of businesses, that in this environment, in this community, while you'd think people would be competitors and play things close to the vest, which, it is competitive. Everybody, at least on the appearance, if not, they just have me fooled, that everybody really wants everybody else to be successful and believe that there's enough business out there for all of us. And let's just do good work, support each other, don't tear each other down, and just try to, help each other find the best fits for each other. And that's been a great thing about being in this community, that it is not hard to want to give back and be part of what's going on here.
Yeah, I echo what you're saying. I mean, I think community is one of the best things. I can honestly tell you, probably about 10 years, I wasn't a community person when I started my company. I was more thinking about, how do I make money? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it wasn't until I started like volunteering for things that I actually enjoyed. Right. And then when I volunteered for things I enjoyed, I actually enjoyed volunteering, and then I volunteered more. And as soon as you know it, I was like, wow, like these people all are giving back and like recommending people to me and all this kind of stuff. And it kind of changed my perception of community. And that's one of the things I found very impressive when I was looking at your website, not only and your podcast, is that you're very tight knit with the community, but it's authentic. That's the key that I want everyone to understand. It's authentic, because there's some people that'll do things for the community because they want something out of it. You're just doing it, and then things are happening from there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, that's the idea. Nobody likes the guy who comes in or woman who comes in with the obvious, selfish motivation to get involved, or swoop in at the last second to throw some money at something or look like the hero. You can see that coming from a mile away, and nobody wants that. It's putting in the work, being there when nobody can see it. That's what people value. And I have clients that have literally taken me years to get. And because I wasn't always trying to get them as a client, I would pitch them. It wasn't the right time, but let's work together. Let's do things. Let's be part of the same groups. And then ultimately, a lot of times, thankfully, it's like, hey, this is a good time. What do you say we talk about, doing something? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And it really is authenticity is really, like you said, that's a huge key.
Considering that is in your business sense, like where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you see you guys taking off to?
Well, I'd love to be doing the same thing, just continue to grow and continue to add, valuable team members and take on more exciting clients and and just do more of the same. I like where we are and what we're doing. I'm just hoping to grow, because when we can grow and add, not only providing jobs and building community, but also, in our business and marketing, our success doesn't really mean, we don't measure our success by how cool a campaign is or an award we might get or how much money we make that month, because that's all fleeting stuff. What we really want to do is make our clients successful. And when they're successful and they make, they meet their goals and make money and they can contribute to the community, when our clients do well and give back and are involved, we get to take some pride in that, because we're a very small part, but we're helping them be successful so they can do the things they want to do as well. So it's kind of a double layer there. Yeah. And I just want to do more of that. I just want to work with more cool people, have more great clients, and continue to grow and increase our impact on Tallahassee. And we serve clients outside of this area. Most of our clients are around here, but we have clients in outside of this area as well.
Okay.
But no matter who we work with or where we are, we're always going to be community-based first as far as our efforts and our time and our energies.
Do you see a way that technology can either hurt or enhance your possibilities of getting to where you want to get to?
Yeah. Of course, we talked about AI a little bit, and I don't know if this is the right time for that conversation, but AI is a tool. It is not a replacement. So we just had this conversation this morning, and because we have to come up with policies on how we're going to use it, and how we're going to communicate to our clients. So we are very firm that AI is not a content creator. It is not a writer. It does not take our place. It is a tool, a research tool, a way to summarize, organize, look at things differently perhaps, but it is not a shortcut to developing content, and we will never use it that way. But we have to figure out a way to use it to make us more efficient by doing some of those other technical things that allow us to take our ideas that we're putting together and repurpose content and use IP that we've created, and then figure out how to use it in different ways. It's a good tool for that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that'll work. So it will allow us to, I think, deliver more to our clients in hopefully the same amount of time so we can offer more value. But it's a little scary in the sense of what people think it will do, which it won't. And also we're going to be competing with people who use it in a way that we're not. And so we're going to have to demonstrate the value of doing things the right way, maybe against other people, especially one-person shops are like, I can do that for a tenth of the price. Yeah. Because I've got ChatGPT. Yep. So we're going to have to, know how to answer those kind of questions.
I mean, that's a good answer. I mean, we, as a software consulting company, we run into this every time. And when people bring us AI as the competitor, like, hey, I could do it with ChatGPT or whatever, I try to explain to people, machine learning, which is the backbone of AI, is actually more of a pattern recognition, mathematics. That's all it is.
Right.
It's just determining what is the probability of one word being next to another word, right, in a certain amount of instances, in a certain amount of context. The accuracy is like 80%, 80 to 85%. It's not that high. In fact, when Google released their latest AI, they even sent a sheet over because we were in their beta program. They sent a sheet where, like, the more reasoning they added to the AI, the less it did in math, or the more math it did, the less it did in reasoning. Where humans don't have, humans are far more accurate when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so it's really interesting when we have these conversations, because it's very similar to the conversation you're having. It's not a replacement, it's an enhancement. It's a tool to help you, not necessarily something that can replace the task at hand. And you can attest to this as a creative, like the creative part is the unique selling proposition. That is right. What you do. That's the uniqueness. And like for us, the design and architecture that we pose into a software architecture or whatever, that is our unique selling proposition. And those are things that cannot be mimicked by AI at all.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's the idea that, that the machines are going to come up with ideas that we can't. I mean, maybe someday that'll be true, but for now, just want people to, and when we get AI ChatGPT generated copy, like if you give it a prompt and you say, write me some copy about this or that, or a promotional email or something, I mean, it clearly uses words no one uses in real life.
Exactly.
I mean, and literally you can spot it, without any problem. So, and I'm sure it'll get better. It'll be harder to find the differences as time goes on. But I think we're in total agreement about, the thing I was going to say is in our industry, we can't pretend like it doesn't exist, because we will be left behind if we don't embrace it. But it's how to embrace it and what we use it for. That's going to be the key.
Everybody I've interviewed, I always have this AI conversation because I'm hearing the same thing from all of us. I think we're all in lockstep. I think we're all, especially a lot of us who've been around for a while, we know, we've seen these waves, these ebbs and flows of technology coming in and trying to take over this, take over that. And at the end of the day, the thing that makes us unique as humans is we have a thing called a soul, and that soul comes out in everything that we do. And that's something that AI just cannot replicate.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at, I don't know how exact this is, but when you look at something, even in animation, and you look at Toy Story or all those, any of the Pixar stuff or Disney or whatever, they're so amazing and so perfect, but they cannot come close to human faces.
Exactly.
I mean, because we're too complicated, we're too individual, it cannot be replicated with a math equation. And that's kind of the same thing. You cannot replace what we have inside. But to pair with technology and use some of those things to our advantage is certainly going to prove to be helpful.
And like I said, we build AI solutions, but all the solutions we build are solutions that don't impede on human elements, right? Like we take data from companies and utilize that data to build artificial intelligence engines to be able to do tasks, mundane tasks that humans don't want to do on a day-to-day basis that anybody can do, right? So that's what we use it for. We don't use it to replace anything. We use it to enhance the workload. But yeah, that's a great topic. I love that conversation every time because I love talking to people like you who understand, what's going on and what it actually can be used for, and what are the downfalls of people thinking that it can replace a human. And that's
and I really do think, like you said, it's going to replace human tasks, but the ones we don't need to be doing.
Exactly.
Things that would take hours to analyze something. We don't need to be doing that. We need to be thinking about what do we do with the analysis we get, and how can we use that for something better, not sit there and look at line by line what everything says. Let somebody give that to me, or let something give that to me, and then go from there.
So on that note, let me go a little bit personal here. I wanted to jump on a little bit of personal stuff. And the funny thing is you have a page on your website that is personal, it's about you. And so I use some of the content there to help me with these questions.
Okay, well, good.
So first things first, this is funny. I found this to be interesting. Your first college major was in music.
Yeah. I thought I wanted to be a band director.
Okay.
And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, I can see you as a band director. I'm not sure that's a compliment or not, but so I had a really great band director in high school. I loved music. I loved marching band. My wife and I met in the Marching Chiefs at FSU. So band has been a huge part of my life until the end of college.
Nice.
And I thought that was what I wanted to do. And then I came up to FSU, and FSU has one of the best, if not the best, state college of music programs in the country, certainly the Southeast. And I just got buried. I was by far the worst French horn player at Florida State, and I made it. I worked hard, but for a short period of time. And I'm like, this is just not a good decision. So I switched majors pretty quickly after that.
Did you ever get to get on the field as a band member?
Oh yeah, for 3 years.
Oh, nice.
I marched on the field. Yeah, I shared the football field with some pretty amazing athletes.
That is awesome.
I was there at halftime and they were there during the game, but still, I was in the same place. I touched the same grass. So
that is awesome.
It was a lot of fun. And Chiefs are still, to this day, on my podcast, I've had different people related to Chiefs. The voice, David Westbury, who's the Marching Chiefs voice who announces, and a friend of mine from college, Mike McCall, who's our one of our local meteorologists here, who is in the band with me. And so it's fun. Those days were very important. Well, most important because I met my wife there, but otherwise just a lot of fun, great people. And that was a great experience. Just didn't want to do it for a living. That's all.
Yeah. I have an affinity for marching band because my oldest daughter, she that was where she felt comfortable and she felt approved by her peers. And so she fell in love with marching band. She did all 4 years in high school. I tried to convince her to go to college and do marching band, but she just got tired. She just got exhausted from the.
Well, I'll tell you that the biggest impact it had on me as a person early was I came up to FSU completely by myself. Didn't know a single person. Literally just with a little Foot Locker and a couple of shirts. Didn't know anybody. So the band starts a week early before students arrive to practice for the first, football game. So when I got here and we have an orientation, and immediately I meet like 400 people.
Yeah.
Immediately from day one. And I'm part of a family and a group that would be some of my best friends for 4 years. And immediately being part of something is super important for your college experience. And I was part of other things. I was in a fraternity and other clubs and stuff, but that initial connection to like-minded people when my first day of college was super impactful for me.
And I'll second that, man. Band is a family. I watched my daughter literally. I never seen her so happy to be with a group. After she had a horrible middle school, she goes into high school and she just loved being there because of the band. So it was awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
So when you're not in the office, what do you like to do for fun?
When I'm not in the office, well, I'm going through a time now where our kids next week I'll be an empty nester officially. My youngest son is moving out. So life is going to look a little different, but we have grandkids around a lot now. So spending time with my wife and my kids and grandkids. And, that's probably still my favorite thing to do. I've taken up in the last few years, started to really enjoy grilling and barbecuing and smoking and all that stuff. Got a grill, learning how to do all that. Never really was the dad on a Saturday who was, smoking a brisket or something. But now my kids all love it and they come over and I'm getting better at it and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy doing that.
So is that picking up a new skill or is that something you've kind of already honed in on?
Yeah, no, that is definitely a new skill. And I also have a pellet grill, which is, burns wooden pellets. And so it's kind of real, long time hardcore smokers think I'm probably cheating in some way, but that is, it's allowed me to put out some pretty good food without a lifetime of experience. So I'll take it. It's a lot of fun.
It's awesome. Well, as we close up here, we're running a little bit out of time. So let's one last thing. What would you say to an entrepreneur that's looking at starting their own business? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would just say to really, I think everybody, like I talked about, what your specific skill set is, just kind of understand who you are, what you do best. And while it's important to be able to offer a lot of services and, being able to be broad, just really know what your skill set is and what you care about, what you're passionate about. But I do want to say that with a caveat, the passion, the love, this is what I was meant to do. That's sort of true. But if you like doing something, that's great. But it's really about why do you want to go off on your own? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Why do you want to do your own thing? Figure out something that you're good at and you like, but it's not about being lifted up in some magic cloud of, if I love what I do, I never have to work a day in my life. I don't believe that. Work is work and work is hard and being an entrepreneur is hard. So, staying in the grind, working hard, surrounding yourself with people who support you and who believe in you and just working hard and treating people well, always be open to opportunities. Never think you've got it figured out. It's never going to be a straight line from where you're starting to success. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be twists and turns. There's going to be things you don't expect. So how you deal with it, how you take that and learn from it, even if you make the worst mistake in the world, as long as you learn from it and don't make it again, it's all good. Just keep moving. And, just be committed to it. Don't give up. Don't let people tell you can't do it. If you think this is the thing you're supposed to do, work hard until you get it. And you'll get there.
Really appreciate the time, Dave, for you being on this podcast. If you could please tell the audience, how do we find you? And by the way, before you say that, I am going to have all this information in the show notes. So, okay. But Dave, just go ahead and tell people how do they find you? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So on all the major, on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, I'm just at Dave Fiore, FioreCommunications.com, FIORE communications.com. Also, my podcast is called How I Got Here. So it's at tallypodcast.com, but it's also at FioreCommunications.com. We've got a whole page dedicated to that, and it's available on all the major podcast platforms. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. And so that's it. And email, you can find all my email, all that information's on there. And if anybody wants, to talk, or I love talking about business, leadership, entrepreneurship, especially podcasting. That's probably my passion when we talk about things that I love to do. I love to podcast. That's why, Ray, I was excited to be a part of your podcast and be part of this today. So thank you for that opportunity. I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to talking to anybody who, I might be able to help in any way.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate you getting on the podcast. This was fun and got to learn a lot about you, your company. And so for anyone who's listening, watching, please subscribe to the podcast, and definitely check us out for any more episodes. I think this is episode 8, or maybe 7. So looking forward to when this gets posted, and I will see you guys in the next podcast. And I guess thanks, Dave, for being a guest on this one.
Thank you, Ray.